So perfect. I would say hello and welcome to our skybow Business App Show, our webinar about several business apps, but also about the idea of building ready-to-go business app solutions. I have three friends and colleagues with me today: Julian Depp from Swisscom, Louis Blackwell from Quell, and Henning Eiben from BusyTech. And today we are going to show you a little bit about what people have done with skybow. Julian will tell a little bit about the Swisscom Skybow collaboration, about the business case together that we have, and we'll give you an idea of what a large enterprise like Swisscom can do with Skybow. Louis will talk about an app that he has built during the past months. It's called the Resource Schedule. So he will do a demo and show you a little bit about the features. Also, we will talk about how it is available. And the last presenter is going to be Henning. Henning is from BusyTech, and he's going to show you our Skybow app of the year, the meeting manager. So it won our app of the year award. He will show you why that is the case, and we'll see more about that. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about why we believe that ready-to-go business apps are the future, and that this is the way people are expecting their work to be happening in maybe just a couple of months, or maybe already now, or definitely in a couple of years. Because we see that the industry has changed, mainly because of Office 365, because the immersion of the cloud, and we see that with that, everyone now has access to have complex business apps. It can be a very small shop. It can be people who never before thought of getting something like a process or a digital process. And now that they have the opportunity to do so, and I think this is the main point why the whole market became something else and it started to move now. There's also a change in mentality, and I think that came also from the customer market, that now not everything needs to be 100% customized. It is better to have a quick start, have something like a template where you can see, okay, this is my result in the end, and then I can just make the necessary adjustments when I want to do something else. And this is perfectly possible with Skybow. And also the demos that we are going to see today, we see, yes, this is a great base, but if I want to have some minor changes to it, or also some bigger changes, this is easily possible. And you will spare a massive amount of development time if you start from that point and not have to invent the wheel every time again just to have a digital process. And this is something we think that is going to happen, and with what is already happening right now. The last point is that, of course, development resources are very scarce resources nowadays, and it is a win for everyone if you can get more, especially more scalability work from your development resources. This is a win for consultants and developers, as they are going to tell you probably in a couple of minutes, and it's also a win for the end customers who gain speed and flexibility and, of course, spare a lot of money. Therefore, we think that the ready-to-go business app way is the way of the future, and the next couple of 55, maybe 50 minutes, we're going to talk about how this is possible, how this is realized, and dive a little deeper into that topic. To start off, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Julia from Swisscom.
Okay, perfect. Good. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for the handover. And thank you very much as well for the invitation for today's webinar. I was honored to present something about the partnership between Skybow and Swisscom. So first of all, I would pass through the agenda. Just shortly, who am I? Who is Swisscom? The Skybow apps, the technical setup with the apps from Skybow, the challenge we took, and what is coming soon, and then at the end, I will be ready for some questions. Otherwise, Sebastian, if you want to say we have the questions in total at the very end after all the three speeches, please let me know. Good. First of all, who am I? I'm the so-called ISV Sales Squad leader at Swisscom, And I'm responsible for companies who have in their main topic software. So this is the area where I'm running around into Switzerland. I have studied in IT and in strategic management. I live very close to Zurich. I'm 38 and I have 3 kids. It's not very important, but I need some facts and figures to fill out the slide. No, just kidding, of course. I want to present you Swisscom much more. When I speak to people, if they know Swisscom, certainly they do, because we are the biggest telco provider in Switzerland. But in this area where we are speaking, we are not talking about telecommunication. We are much more talking about cloud system and this kind of stuff. So the landscape where this ISV area into Swisscom is handling is, first of all, our infrastructure. So we have cloud services split it into infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, where we provide cloud systems to whoever wants. Our newest product on this infrastructure is the OpenShift. For all of them who is deeper into the software part, OpenShift is the container solution. So you have the opportunity to build your software into containers, into microservices. And what we try to support is to get away from this monolith constructions which we have in the last 5 or 10 years, much more into this microservice idea, and we are supporting the software companies into this. Much more as well, we are also providing a solution for business software. It's called LinSync, so you can combine the business software with the telephony. It's actually very simple. If you want to call someone, you just have to click the name or the number, or if someone is calling you, you have a notificator which pops up and shows, hey, someone from skybow or whoever is calling at the moment. Afterwards, I will show a little bit deeper into the solution where we have integrated that as well with the skybow apps. Many of you will probably know this solution as well for the TAPI interface and the Estos server. This is how this solution worked now in the last 20 years. But in the meanwhile, this solution now is built on an API interface, and it's much more modern, much simpler, and cheaper, of course. The last but not least pillar we are providing from our ISV landscape is the so-called Swisscom Marketplace. So also this solution is something which we are talking to skybow about. And the marketplace is like a place where we provide different software, different CRMs, ERPs or whatever, and where all people have the opportunity to order the software directly from the Swisscom channel. So actually also here we are using just another channel to sell different types of software, and I will go a little bit deeper into this as well concerning what we do with skybow. So since we speak to skybow, and this is actually now almost 2 years, and to many of you 2 years doesn't seem a pretty long time, but actually this is the same age as our ISV story is. So Philip from skybow, he was one of the first contacts we had in this area, and we were speaking a lot, we were talking a lot, and we had a lot of conversations where we tried to figure out what model, what business or what use case do we want to follow to have a great business case between skybow and Swisscom. So he showed me the kind of apps he had already for our kind of solution. So basically we were talking about this kind of apps like absence, working hours, staff, all these apps you can just read here. And we had the target that we want to go to the small and medium enterprises to show them this kind of apps so that they have an easy solution for like solving this kind of problems for each of these apps. And this is how actually we started. So this solution is built on Office 365. Office 365 is one of our main products. We are a big partner of Microsoft. So this is also where we as sales, we have targets on. And as I mentioned before, for this Linsync, so the combination between business apps and telephony is something we integrated as very first at the Office 365 application. So everyone who uses Office 365 from Swisscom has directly Linsync on top of it. So this is already a nice use case which we offer. Since skybow builds their apps on Office 365, or better said on the SharePoint layer, we came up with this use case that we could serve all our clients which are already into Office 365 to serve them with this kind of apps. But what we were thinking about, or what we were starting with, is something I will show you later on. But the build-up or the setup for these apps was like some questions like, who is checking Office 365, who is doing the SharePoint level, who is installing the skybow apps. And then we came up because the area where we work in for small and medium enterprises is already a kind of a partner management. And we figured out we had two common partners here in Switzerland, Zurich Net Group and Innerox, which we are both deep in. And we talked to them to support us to serve our clients with this kind of apps on the base of Office 365. And this is actually not just the use case what we do with skybow, it's actually also the business case what we have with them. So for now, actually, all of this sounds very easy. And in this easy way, we figured out we were struggling on a lot of points, on a lot of places, and things we had to discuss where we were sure at the beginning that this sounds very easy. At the end, it figured out that that wasn't that easy as we expected. So the questions or the challenges actually which we had to solve was already in the beginning. So what price is good for like a small and medium enterprise for this kind of apps? So we were discussing already hours on just how could the price model look like. That this was based on Office 365 actually was very good to us because this is a lot of our clients has this kind of product already, so we already knew where to go with that. And but on the other hand side, what we didn't know is what setup do they have, and where do we start? And we could also not always figure out, do they already have Office 365 or not? So there were already basic questions like, when we come to a client and we don't know how many users they have, what office type they have, do they have to migrate to Office 365? Is it one user or are these 40 users? This was all these types and kind of questions what we need to ask ourselves, and where we came up that we need the support of our partners from skybow and from Swisscom. And yeah, this was actually the first question. So other questions was like, are the apps the right ones? Are this enough apps? So we had like in the beginning of 7 or 8 apps where we were providing, and now we are discussing to add more apps into this solution. And still we have the question, because whenever we have these sales calls to our clients, we don't know what exactly their pain is. So we have to figure out first, what is their pain? What app do they really want? Do they just want one of these apps, or do they want 6 out of 8 or whatever? So this was also this kind of questions. So the sales approach, as I mentioned before, already the solution for us was to speak to our common partners. And at the beginning, we were like struggling already with this question. Shall we do this by our own, or shall we involve partners? When we do this by our own, who is responsible for what, and all this kind of things. Then one big question what we always have, and this is very picky also for an enterprise like Swisscom is the support. So when someone is using the skybow apps, what support do they need to call? Do they need to call skybow? Do they need to call Swisscom? Do we need an own support part for this, or can we use the Office 365 support for this? This was all this kind of questions which we still didn't figure out then at that point of time how to solve this. So as you just can see, these are now only 5 points I mentioned out of many. And this was actually the journey we had so far with skybow. At the end, thankfully we can say a successful journey. Not just that we have now all these apps based on Office 365, also for the relationship in this partnership, where we say we had a lot of challenges we need to take. We had a lot of discussions where we figured out how does skybow work, how does Swisscom work, and then we could come closer together in this case. So now if I take a look in the future, what we were talking about with skybow on our marketplace. So actually our marketplace is already like 7 years old, but we were not able to use this marketplace as it was thought of, but we were paying for it as it was thought. So actually when this ISV topic came up 2 years ago, we said we need like a kind of a marketplace where we are able to show what software partners do we have, what software do they have, and that they can present themselves, that people are able also to use our channel to order that software types. So skybow was since the beginning, because we were speaking already over another marketplace, and for now they are also in a pole position for this marketplace, where they are kind of an alpha and beta tester for it. And as I heard last week, they are almost finished. Like I think the status is 99%, and we expect that we can show already by end of this month or the beginning of the next month that that we could solve that marketplace topic, and first of them will be skybow on this marketplace. So as you can see, also for this kind of big company like Swisscom is, we are able to speak to partners who have like innovative ideas. They don't have to become sizes like SAP or Microsoft to speak out about the partnership. And this is something which I'm very happy about, because this is actually my main task, what I'm doing every day, speaking to software partners. And thankfully I can say that we are speaking to skybow, because this was until now a really good and nice relationship or partnership. So in this case, if you have any questions concerning the relationship or the partnership between skybow and Swisscom, or if you're interested in this ISV program anyway, please feel free to contact me on any of these channels. Or if you have any questions, I don't know, Sebastian, would it make sense to ask them now or later on?
Generally, this goes out to everyone who's attending the webinar. You can every time post questions. If I can answer them, I will chat you back. Otherwise, I will give you.
Okay, perfect.
At this point, we do not have any questions, but if there is something coming up, I can send it to you afterwards, or if I can answer them, I will answer them immediately. Okay, Julia?
Perfect. Super. Good.
Thank you very much. And then, as said, now is the time for a question, but we can also continue with Lewis.
Hi everyone, my name is Lewis Blackwell. I've been working with SharePoint for, well, probably since 2005, which makes me feel very old. I was a developer and still doing a lot of development, and basically what I do is work with customers to build business applications that sit on SharePoint. So a lot of forms, workflows, that type of thing. And always the challenge in this is delivering something that the client wants, minimizing development time, and what I try and make sure I do is use as much out of the box SharePoint as I can, because it's there. We don't need to test it. It's not like sort of writing code. So you leverage the product. So so I've been doing that for a number of years now, and I came across skybow probably about 18 months ago, and been speaking with Sebastian, and I was just very impressed with their tool set and the capabilities that they offer, especially for someone like myself. So obviously SharePoint's gone through a transition from on-prem, a lot of changes from 2007 to sort of 2016 in the way you develop and deploy apps. I won't bore you with all the details, but things have changed quite a lot. And then we've moved into SharePoint Online, and we've got different ways of doing things again. We've also got within SharePoint Online a sort of the modern and the classic pages sort of battling between each other. And from an end user point of view, when you're trying to develop an app and you want to have a simplified interface, consistency, a reliable way to deploy that app, and the code or the dev tool chain rather that you use to do that. You want to have confidence in that. And when you're constantly, I guess, learning and trying new things, it's hard just to get focused on just the business, the business logic. So this example project that I've got here, I just wanted to show you some of my experience that I've had using skybow. So this is the resource schedule for SharePoint. So basically the problem that we had is something that sort of, I've been looking at for a number of years and always thought, I forget a bit of time, I'll develop this. But everywhere I've sort of worked or sort of people I've come into contact with for scheduling, it always surprises me that a lot of people use spreadsheets, and it's it's reliable. It does what they need. But I thought, well, look, couldn't you use some software to do that? It might be a bit easier. And I've seen other software at the other end of things that is hideously complicated, and again doesn't really do the job. So there are sort of quite a lot of SaaS providers that have a sort of a scheduling functionality, but again, if you're going to go out to that, you've got to buy a separate subscription to do that. You've got to, I guess, integrate your single sign-on or log in separately to another system, and it doesn't integrate with all of your systems. So the solution to that problem, surprise, surprise, is SharePoint. You're already paying for your licenses with Microsoft. It's got all of the capabilities that you need to do this. With a little bit of customization on the UI, you can produce the scheduling. So basically, what I came up with, again, sorry, very simple. So we've got our SharePoint site, a projects list, and then a resource schedule list. Basically, some JavaScript as well, and then just put that on a page. That's it, basically. So I'll just move my my screen over so you can see. Can you see that okay, Sebastian?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, great. So this is the resource schedule. So I've got it on a site here, and basically what I've used is Google Charts, because, as I said, when I develop solutions, I want to try and do it as quickly as possible, because obviously the clients charge, they have to pay for this, and they're only going to pay for a certain amount of days. You can't just burn endless time writing code, so it's got to be easy to build. So I like sort of building blocks. So I used Google Charts here. It's quite simple. As I said, we've got that projects list and the resource schedule list. So and basically what I'm doing is just displaying that information within the Google chart, so I can sort of navigate between screens, and you can see the timeline underneath there. And basically what I've done is added the timeline functionality within that, so it basically refreshes it so it looks like you're scrolling up and down. Then when you hover over the the items, you've got a little flyout as well, which shows information about your project, the start and end dates, and then your sort of allocation. So here you can see this, oh, this is me. I've got 2 hours for SharePoint testing for those few days, but actually my allocation is actually 75% because I've got 6 hours worth of work scheduled because I've got 2 other projects that day. So what I can do from here is click and launch my new form. So this just goes to my new form, and I can then create a new item in that list, and I'll come back to that a bit later. What I've got here is my projects. So when you have the resource schedule, first of all, everything will be blank. So you need to set up projects. So every item that you create, you'll need to associate it with a project. So here you can see I've got a load of projects, and I've got the colors as well that those projects will display in. So this is all out of the box SharePoint, and this is the modern SharePoint view. This color thing here, this is just using the SharePoint column formatting. So if I just go into create a new project, this is all out of the box, and then what I've said is for the color field, I'm just using HTML colors in that picker there, so I can select that, and then I just use the column formatting, and then it will display it in a sort of a color block, which is quite a neat trick. The other thing I've added to here as well actually is maybe a budget as well. So you could say I only want to spend a certain amount of hours on a project. I haven't done any validation against that yet, but it's there. And you've also got a project manager associated with the project, so you could create views for that project manager, or different project managers rather, and they could see which projects they're managing. Again, I'm not really using that at the moment, but it's there, and obviously you can expand on that. So I've got a view here. So this is just the out-of-the-box resource schedule list, and I've just said, well, this is my tasks. So this is just a filtered view that's showing me, I think it was the tasks that are coming up. So anything that I have coming up, so you can see there. So if I just click the new button again, so this will take me back into my form. So the form is obviously a modern list form, but you can see it's got some customization here. So if I just go and scroll down, actually, I'll just demo task. I'll assign it to myself as well. Select from my project. So this is a lookup on the projects list. And if I just check my availability, you can see here that it's saying please enter start date. So I can't check the availability till I have a start date. So this is some customization that's running on a modern page. So for any developers out there, you'll know that you need to do a lot of work to be able to get to this point. And this was very, very easy for me. So I'm going to put my start and end dates, hours, 8 hours a day. So if I check my availability, I can see the resource is unavailable. Please check the schedule. I want to change this message and make it a bit better, but it's just that's where it is at the moment. So if I just change my dates, check my availability again, the resource is available. So what it's done is it's run some code, queried that resource schedule list. You did see in that previous screen I've got some allocation in September already. So I was trying to book out the whole of September for 8 hours a day, and I can't do that, but I can book the first couple of days in September. I've also got this funny sort of include weekends button. This was just, or toggler. This was just to, if you're scheduling sort of tasks that run on dates over a weekend, I could sort of say whether they're included or not. Yeah, so that's all that is. So if I just then save my task, actually I'll put this, yeah, that's on Sunday, it doesn't matter. I'll include it as a weekend. So if I just go back to my schedule, there we can see demo task, 8 hours on those first couple of days in September. So just going back to the presentation. I've got my just some screenshots here as well, just in case everything failed. Actually, last one, and I've just had the buzz in my ear, which I forgot to show you, is when you're assigned a task, you'll receive a notification as well. So an email notification will be sent out. And again, that's obviously skybow functionality. So to develop the solution, what I've used is some custom development, as I mentioned. So it was a classic wiki page, Google Charts, which is free to use, by the way, and it's also free to use in products as well. So it says that you're allowed to use that and have it in your own product and sell that. So that's not a problem. And then my own JavaScript on top of that. Then for Solution Studio, so what I used that for was to create the lists, and then use the action builder to automate the email as well. So on item created, send that notification to the resource. And then we had the modern forms customization, which I think is fantastic. So I was able to go in there, run my own code, or sorry, write my own code and sort of interact with that form. So that's very powerful. Then I added the wiki page, which I had in my site, to the solution. I had my script as well, and my images. I've just got a couple of images, so I added those in, and that's my my development package. So for packaging and publishing, I won't go through. Obviously, we're limited on time, but basically, you know, go and use Skybow and Solution Studio if you haven't already. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. But when you go through the packaging process, there's a place that has the logs in there. So I was having an issue with a page I was trying to include in my solution, and basically I found in the logs that it said that it wouldn't include a certain type of page. It had to be a wiki page. So I've included that, so I was able to fix that issue and then include it and then successfully package it. Skybow as well, as I sort of keep saying, it makes a developer's job much easier, so you can focus on the business logic. When you're interacting with modern sites, there's a kind of a bridge between the old and the new world, and what I've used there to add my script to the page was a content editor web part. Now, you can't do that in a modern site out of the box. You have to use PowerShell and then enable scripting for the site, and it's, you know, cumbersome. Skybow does that as part of the deployment, so it's all very easy. One thing I did as well is I've got my scripts and images files. They're in two libraries called RS scripts and RS images. The reason why I did this, I just named them slightly differently rather than scripts and images, because SharePoint has those, you know, sort of out of the box. So what I want, because Skybow obviously doesn't delete anything, and it deploys something, a package into an existing site. So I didn't want to upset anything that was already in an existing site or conflict with anything. So I thought, well, actually, if I just name them slightly differently, then my pieces can deploy around whatever's there. Navigation as well, same thing. So those navigation items I was just showing you on the solution, they would kind of be integrated with the existing navigation. So whatever's in the site, that would still remain. Skybow doesn't delete anything. So the next one is tips. So a couple of things I learned whilst I was doing this. When I was doing the development, I found it really useful to have a dev and a deployment site. I'll just quickly show you. So that's my development site. Sorry, that's why it's called Master 819. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So this was where I was sort of doing the development, and then Skybow was integrated with this site, and then I was doing the deployment, and I called it RS Deploy. And you can see here I've got a navigation mixed in with a out-of-the-box navigation as well. But you can see here I've only got a few tasks. I think one project, because I just put something test in the system. But basically it's just deployed it, and it works perfectly. I was, you know, as I say, I've been working with SharePoint for many years, and things don't work the first time normally. So I was very impressed. So that's good. So a development site and a deployment site, so you can just test that packaging and deployment. The other point was I've styled the classic page as modern, so it's a bit of a cheat there. So if I just go back to the schedule, you can see that everything kind of looks like a modern experience. And all I've done is I've just on my custom script is just used a JavaScript to tweak the styling on the page, so it looks more like a modern page. So I've taken out I think the ribbon, and forget there was some other bits and pieces, the search bar, some other bits down here, the navigation font was different size, and various other little bits and pieces, and these lines, and I put them all in and just changed it. So basically, as from an end user point of view, it kind of looks like a modern site. So the only way you would be able to do this is with SharePoint framework development and develop an app that sits in SharePoint, is deployed, and then you would get this type of experience. So I've cheated a little bit. I just wanted to make it not so jarring for the end users, flipping between the sort of this page, you know, the modern pages, and then the classic page. The column formatting, I've already mentioned the colors, and then yeah, I've launched the modern form as well. I think I showed you that already. I just mocked a new button here. I mocked this myself, so this isn't part of it, but again, I just wanted to have that similar experience that you get in the out-of-the-box lists, as I showed here. You get that, so I just sort of put that in as well. Oops. And yeah, so release management, so this is the last slide. So basically, as part of the packaging and publishing, another challenge that you always have as a developer is managing releases. So if you're on a client site, you've done deployment, then you've got some other requirements, or you're making some changes. How do you then redeploy that easily, especially if they're using the solution? So Skybow Solution Studio allows you to do that, so you can version your packages, so you can always roll back as well. So yeah, it's fantastic. So what I'm planning to do as part of this is to add in some additional items to or some additional functionality to the resource scheduler. So a configuration list. So at the moment it's based off an 8-hour day. So make that configurable. Some other custom pages with some utilization reports, and yeah, a number of other things as well. So just to mention that the resource schedule is available for anyone with a Skybow license to download and use, or it will be. Sorry, I'll publish it and make it available later on this week. But yeah, you'll just be able to download and use that for free and customize it. There's lots of different things you can do. So for example, on that booking page, you could kick off a workflow and an approval process to then say before people are booked. And sorry, I don't want to use up all the time, but thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Sebastian, for letting me present today.
Thank you, Lewis, very much. Cool. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. Then we can move over to Henning. Henning, you should be able to share your screen already, and there we are.
Yes, hello. So my name is Henning Ivan. I am CEO and technical evangelist at BusyTech. So let's see. We are a consulting company founded back in '92 in the beautiful city of Münster. And we focus as a digital companion to help our customers to achieve more by using IT. So we concentrate on improving business processes by intelligently using IT systems, by automating processes and building streamlined applications and tailoring systems to our clients' needs. So we do not do that all by ourselves, but we rely on a strong partner network. And for quite a long time ago, we met the guys from Skybow. And so Skybow is now our preferred tool to create tailored solutions based on Office 365. But enough talking about myself and BusyTech. Let's switch to today's topic. So meetings are typically something that are held by many different personas. There are different people involved in meetings. Each and everyone has their own point of view of what the meeting is about, and everyone has his own agenda to bring to a meeting. And the more people meeting attend and the more topics need to be discussed, the more likely it leads to be more or less chaotic, as seen in this cartoon strip over here. So in order to avoid that, we figured there needs to be something done. We kind of have to find a better solution to have meetings. So in today's business, of course, we need to have meetings, and even though they are time-consuming, they are necessary to work towards a common goal. So in order to lower the burden, meetings should be as effective as possible and enable teamwork in order to support the collaboration of all attendees. This way, everyone can focus on their own tasks, and this makes room to actually focus on what drives your business and what is important to you the most, and to achieve new values for your business proposition instead of just hanging around a meeting where everyone is following his own agenda. So we ask ourselves, what needs to be done to make a meeting a success? And we figured it's all about the preparation. In order to have a successful meeting, you need to be well prepared. And that's where the idea of the meeting manager actually started. We thought maybe we could use skybow technology to prepare meetings more organized and in a more professional fashion, and to have more effective meetings. So let's look what the meeting manager actually has to offer. Well, actually, first of all, meeting manager is about planning your meetings. So you can create meetings, plan ahead of time a certain meeting, and you can also collect various topics that need to be discussed at a meeting. Of course, you can also assign tasks within a meeting to certain attendees and follow up on whether or not those tasks were completed and what the current status of those tasks is. Because we are leveraging skybow technology, this solution is fully integrated into Office 365 and can leverage all the capabilities Office 365 has to offer. So that means that we can add and manage documents within meetings as well. So you could, for example, attach quotes or documentations or presentations to a meeting to have all the files you need within the meeting right at your disposal there where you need them, without having to look around, search in OneDrive or your desktop where this presentation was last saved, just to present that to someone. And last but not least, you can also generate meeting minutes to sum up everything that was discussed at a meeting, all the tasks that were assigned, and to have an overview of what happened at a meeting. So without further ado, I think we should stop this boring slideshow right here and have a demo look at what the meeting manager actually looks like. So let me close this down and fire this up. So here we have the starting page of the meeting manager. Don't be scared of all the German gibberish you see here. That's just due to the fact that my demo environment is currently in German only. But even though you might not be able to decipher each and every individual word here on this page, I think you will still get a good impression of what the meeting manager has to offer, how it works, and how you could benefit from your next meeting by using the meeting manager. So first of all, you can collect topics over here. So this happens during some period of time. Whenever an idea crosses your mind, you can head over here and save that idea to this topic area. For example, I would like to create more solutions using skybow. and I want to discuss what kind of solutions we could create later on. So I just store that here, and when we have our next marketing meeting, maybe I can discuss with the team what kind of solutions we could create. Maybe I have some other ideas and things I would like to discuss, and I just save those ideas here in the topic area as well, just like that. So that would typically happen at some point in time, and you could just collect all those topics. Instead of writing them down at some scratch paper, you do that at the meeting manager. And when it comes later on to the point in time where you want to create a meeting, you can go back to those previously collected topics. So let's take a minute and have a look at that screen right here. As you can see, the first two meetings are already assigned, the first two topics, I mean, are already assigned to a meeting. And you might also notice this column over here, which leverages the out-of-the-box rating capability of SharePoint. That way, my team and I can decide which topics are most interesting to discuss and should be added to the next marketing meeting, for example. So let's pretend we want to create a new meeting and we want to add a couple of previously collected topics to the meeting. So in that case, I just select those two topics and say that I want to create a new meeting. In the background, a new meeting was created and the topics are being added. So as you can see here, the topics have been assigned. So just fill in some information about our meeting, and maybe we should add some attendees as well, just to make it a little bit more realistic. And we can also see all the topics that have not yet been assigned to any meeting. And oh, I noticed I missed a topic. So just let me select it here and move it over to my assigned topics. Just refresh the page. And we now have our topics here. Of course, you can not only select the topics that you previously collected to the meeting, but I could also fill in some topics right here when creating the new meeting. But for right now, I think this looks pretty good and we are good to go. So just save this meeting and we are taken to the meeting overview page where I see all the meetings I have currently planned. So here is our just created meeting. So let's open that up. And I will have all the information about the meeting. Here I have the agenda I created by selecting the topics, and I can also have a look at the details like the organizer, the attendees, and the description of the meeting. Okay, so let's pretend that this meeting is actually taking place. Oh, wait, I forgot something. So as you see, I have an estimated period of time for those topics here associated with them that sums up to estimation of how long the meeting actually should take place. Okay, so but now let's dive into the meeting and we want to discuss the first topic. I could open up the topic right here to get a better understanding of what we want to talk about. Okay. So while we discuss this topic, we might find that some additional work needs to be done. So for that matter, I want to collect a new task to follow up later on. So I fill in some information about the task that needs to be done. And as you see, the meeting has already been associated as well as the topic. I could choose to change the topic to something else if I want to associate that with a different topic, but for now we're good to go with this topic, and I just hit save. So similar, I could now collect tasks while we are discussing various topics to later on follow up on those tasks. So just like this, I fill in the information. And all those tasks are being stored in SharePoint lists and associated with the meeting as well as the topic, so that I can later on follow up which task for which topic have been completed or might be still to do. So just collect a couple more tasks here and maybe create a final task for this topic as well. Okay, like this. So at any point in time, I can go over to this task tab and review all the tasks that have been collected so far within the meeting, whom they are assigned to, and what's their due date. So once this meeting has been finished, I can decide to create some meeting minutes as well. So this leverages the document generation capabilities of skybow to generate a meeting minutes document in the background. So usually that should not take that long. Of course, this is like a demo, and oh, here we go. So the document has been generated in the background and is associated with the meeting. If I head over to the Documents tab, I will see this newly created meeting minutes. And I can click on this here, and I see my meeting minutes with all the information of my meeting, like who organized the meeting, the description, attendees, as well as my agenda, and all the tasks. For each and every agenda point, I have tasks. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I could now send this meeting minutes out to all the people who could not attend the meeting. So they have a summary of what was discussed and what tasks have been assigned. So if I then would head back to the start page of my meeting manager, I would see all the tasks that have been assigned to me and that I'm responsible for fulfilling. And I can always follow up on those tasks. So I think that quick demo shows you in a glance what the meeting manager is all about, what you could do, and how that can enable you to be better prepared for your next meeting. So let's switch over here for a sec. And the meeting manager and everything you saw is available at the Business App Catalog, and I've created a bit.ly link below here, but you will get the slides afterwards as well, so don't worry if you will not be able to just follow along as quickly. Of course, the solution is available in the solution store as a regular solution and also for skybow Enterprise users. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me or my colleague Tobias with any questions. Don't hesitate to contact me via email or other ways.
Henning, thank you very much. Look really, really good. Thank you. So thank you very much and see you guys soon.